So, Carlos, we're having a number of questions come in. Let's start with a kind of easy one. You use the term LOI. What does that mean?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, we got caught up in our own jargon. Letter of intent, and for anybody who's not done a lot of business deals, or maybe any business deals, there's a lot of ways to approach how to start a structure. And rather than get into the legal aspects of what is a letter of intent and is it binding or not binding, the way I would tell you to do things as a business person, and I hope I don't get any too negative reactions from the attorneys, is make sure you're clear in your conversations. So have a conversation with somebody. So what you're telling me in the deal is, you give me X amount of money, I give you X amount of the company, and then you talk through that, whatever that might be. Take notes and then document that. I am a firm believer in, it's amazing how when we talk to folks, we hear what we want to hear, and when you put it in writing, even in an email, even informally, and say, is this what you said? Is this what you meant? Is this what the nature of the deal is? And then take it from that stage, perhaps to a term sheet or something that may not be legally binding, but spells out enough of the deal so that you're not confusing each other down the road. Or they said, well, I said 10% of the company for $1 million, but what I really meant was preferred equity, not common equity, and I get my money back before you do. Well, you never said that before. So getting that in writing to the stage where you do go to the attorneys and they can help you, and it's not just attorneys, right? It can be accountants and other folks, but when you go to the professional route and you get that advice, you've got a very clear understanding of what the other side wants and what you want. And I'm sure as an attorney, Amy, you've come across many deals that got fall apart because people were talking past each other around what the basic terms are. But to answer the question, a letter of intent is usually, not always, but usually one of the steps in going from a informal conversation before we actually draft legally binding terms.
Great, and so I see that Tyrone has asked a question about how binding is an LOI, and I think that depends on whether the LOI is a binding or non-binding LOI, and we'll have some more questions and answers about that when we talk to the fundraising folks. Spencer's asked a good question, which is, does your business plan change or evolve as you bring on an investor or reach a milestone?
It can, and it probably should, but I think it's going to evolve as you see what is it going to take to reach your future state, and are you on track? So I'm a big believer in, set a good course on the horizon, know where you're trying to get to, and then set milestones along the way so that you can understand if you're on track, right? So if I want to be, let's just pick an arbitrary goal. I'm part of one of the licenses. Magically, I wish that was possible. And I said, hey, I want to be in the top 3 by market percentage on the dispensary side in 5 years. Well, maybe at year 1, I set a more modest milestone along the way. I want to have at least 3 dispensaries open, or I want to have something else. And so you'll set goals and milestones, but your investors can change that depending on what you've communicated to them and depending on what their aspirations are. But you as an entrepreneur are going to find that sometimes the winds are favorable and you go faster than you thought, and you'll be more ambitious, or you'll decide you want to pivot to some new opportunity or expansion. You may not have thought about making product, and all of a sudden that's important to you to be a producer, not just a cultivator and dispenser. So yeah, your business plan can and should change, but it should be really from you with influence from the investors, not because the investor is driving you down a different path, unless you've decided early on that you don't want to be in that active leadership role. You want to cede that over to somebody else. And so that's really my point, is be deliberate in knowing what decisions you want to retain and which ones you want to either delegate or ascribe to somebody else. But an investor should not drive your business plan. You should drive your business plan.
So I'm going to synthesize a few questions that have been asked, I think, into one question. Those questions are, what might you ask investors through due diligence? How do you avoid a predatory deal? How do you source capital? And I think maybe the best way to ask that question in one synthesized question is, when you have somebody approach you to invest, or you approach somebody to invest, what are the next steps you might take to get that conversation off to a good start, and two, to make sure that you're protected as you move forward?
The first thing I want to do, and it's kind of an adage I think in life, is seek first to understand and then to be understood. I think our natural tendencies, especially as an entrepreneur, is to say, let me tell you why my business plan is the best. Let me tell you all about my opportunity. Let me tell you about my vision. Let me tell you why I'm going to be the most successful person on the planet in this particular space. And when I get my license, how I'm going to make me and you and everybody else a ton of money. We all have that tendency when we're in entrepreneurship mode and when we're in fundraising mode. And what I found is if you suspend that a little bit, I'm not saying you don't sell your plan, but you tell folks what you're trying to do, and then you turn the tables and you say, tell me more about your interests. Why are you interested in investing in this space? Have you done a deal? How do you feel about this industry? How do you feel about my business and what I've shared with you so far? Obviously, I need to give you more details, but why would you want to invest in me and my company? And when you just turn the tables on them and you ask these questions, tell me your motivations, people can't help but reveal themselves. Hey, I want to take $1 million and turn it into 20 million. Maybe great, but that may not be the right deal for you. And if that's all they're looking to do, that may not be the right investor fit for you, depending on what you want to do. So just turn the tables, ask those questions. I'm a big believer in breaking bread with folks. The idea of having a meal, it doesn't have to be a sit-down meal. It can be, coffee or whatever. But get to know people and look at the entire package, right? So if somebody tells me they're a really savvy investor who stands by their entrepreneurs and who takes care of people when they're down and they're going through their fifth nasty divorce, I'm not saying that disqualifies them, but it kind of gives me another bit of a picture, right? What are they like as a person, not just in business, but in general? Again, I've done deals with folks who've had bad deals in the past. I've had things that didn't go my way. So that doesn't disqualify you, but understanding the whole package is important, and just turning the tables and asking them, why would you want to do this deal yourself? What are your investment expectations? And if they're sitting there telling you, hey, I need to be liquid in 3 years, and you're trying to build a business where the last thing you want to do is pay out investors in 3 years when you're in super growth mode, get that identified up front, because that's probably not going to be a good alignment. Surface those issues right away.
Thanks so much.
Have fun with this. Thank you.